Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. It was actually called Awareness Hub, but now I've rebranded it into UnLearn Content, wherein I'm going to bring in a lot of people like Cheryl today. And I'm going to bring in like other people also who are expert and experienced in their field, like right from artificial intelligence to social media to content creation. I'm going to bring in a lot of people who are going to share their knowledge and experience, which is going to make you smarter. So what does this unlearn content means is that I'm going to give you curated content, meaning like I'm not going to make you even more confused by putting into this pool of content. Like I'm going to give you like only which is like more important, which makes you even smarter. So without further ado, let's get into the show. In this show, I have Cheryl with me, who is a very good copywriter who has worked as a CRM executive. She's into content writing and a lot of other stuff. So I hope this session is going to be like really valuable. And I always promise one thing to my audience, that is like I'm going to extract as much knowledge as possible from the guest whomever I'm interviewing, so that it gives like as much value to my audience. So I'll try to extract as much knowledge as possible from you, Cheryl. So anyways, thank you so much for accepting my invitation and being on my show. So how do you feel to be on my show?
Hey Anish, yeah, thanks for inviting. Cause I haven't done many podcasts. I haven't had many opportunities for podcasts, but
Okay.
I'm very happy and like happy to share and yeah, just to kind of have a chat and let everybody kind of find out more and learn more together. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. So excitedly. So let's get started with AI. I think the hot topic in today's world currently, because as we know,
Mm.
everybody's social media feed, like not only on social media feed, I think everywhere, like you look around TV, like everywhere, I think everybody's like talking about Chat GPT, or I would say, yeah, we can say AI on the whole, but to be specific, everybody talks about the so-called Chat GPT, right? So, since you are like more into copywriting currently, like what do you think about AI in copywriting? Like, what is the impact of AI in terms of copywriting? Like, is it helping you out, or is it like as people say, is it like enough, taking you away from your job? Like, how is it? Can you just walk us through that?
Yeah, sure. I think you're absolutely right when you say that like AI in general or Chat GPT more specifically is
Yeah,
everywhere. Everybody talks about it, and not so much like only on social media, but like you said, in topic of conversations in daily interactions as well, right?
true, very true.
And the thing about AI, I would say, like let's say from a copywriting perspective, right? Because people know that when it comes to copywriting is one of those jobs or one of those career line that people say are directly affected by AI. And they're not
Oh,
wrong at all for saying that, because I've
mm-hmm.
heard so many stories of people being made redundant, or like, clients just choosing to kind of not hire copywriters anymore because like, ChatGPT can like churn out stuff
Exactly.
for them. But I choose to think about it from a different perspective in that sense, because I wouldn't say I've dabbled super a lot into AI, but I've definitely tried out a few different AI tools. And when it comes to the output, right, I
Mm-hmm.
still feel that while it's impressive and brilliant, the the kind of personalization or the really personal touch that a copywriter can really bring to the table when they digest a brief. Okay, like a client gives a brief, and then they say, okay, we're trying to market our things to this kind of audience, we're trying to get them to feel a certain way. It's something that AI can deliver, but not, it doesn't struck a chord, it doesn't like, touch their heart. And I mean, I don't know, I personally find that there's AI still has some years to go before it really reaches that point. But I
Mm-hmm.
would say that it has definitely shaken up the space, in a sense
Exactly.
that
So true.
for those copywriters who feel for those copywriters who feel like threatened by AI and are not choosing to embrace AI, they are how do you say, putting themselves a little bit at risk. And because I came across this quote, which is very, very brilliant, and it says this: AI is not going to replace you. A person using AI is going to replace you.
Very true. Very
So
true.
it makes a lot of sense that, if
Exactly.
you're not staying on top of the ball, if you're not,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
makes sense.
exactly.
Yeah, and as you said, like
Seriously.
like people, I think they did not imagine that AI would be like so powerful. Like, of course, they thought that, of course, it's gonna give you let's say, for example, if you wanted to know about anything about like Canada, like if you want to know some universities in Canada, or like, for example, I'm just telling. So people thought that it can just give you answers, but no one has ever imagined that it would be like so powerful. Like they never thought it would be like so personalized. Like as you said, currently it is not like up to the level, but the way it is being built, right? I think like within like 1 or 2 years, it can give that personalization is what like I would feel, because even I've been using ChatGPT and other tools. Like I'm a very big fan of all these AI tools. Like I follow a lot of creators who give in a lot of this tool tips and like how to use like a very powerful tools. Like I've been using like literally uh, it it actually depends on the way you give the prompt. There's something known as prompt engineering, right? Like
That's right.
the way you give the prompt. So exactly, if you just describe it exactly the way you want, it gives you that results. So even though it doesn't have that much personalization as of now, but I would say like within like 1 to 2 years, I'm sure it's gonna give you that as well. So like as you said, uh,
Yeah.
AI will never replace you just like that. It's that people who are using AI can do that for you. So the only thing here is that it is gonna be harder. Like of course, like people are gonna be left without job. Like let's say for example, if you're a average guy who's into copywriting, and whereas like you have another guy or a girl
Hmm.
who's in like is the top 1%, and they are like they have access to all these
Yeah.
tools and stuff. Like obviously he or she can replace you, because you're like already are like this average, right? So they can do that for you. So it's that like how are you adapting, how are you like kind of embracing yourself, like upskilling yourself, right, in order to be in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, that really is the name of the game, I would say, because it's
Exactly.
like um we I mean, like everybody has access to these tools, whether or
Hmm.
not you really how do you say take that extra effort to learn
Mm-hmm.
from other people and to kind of digest more and just learn beyond the basics. That is on you, that
Yeah,
that is like, if you choose to put in that effort, you will see that kind of result. And like as you say,
exactly.
prompt engineering, and that is, from what I heard here, it's like a 30,000, 40,000. Like people can get that much revenue,
True.
based on this new kind of career, because exactly like you said, it's all about the prompt that you feed it. And because not everybody has that full idea or that full knowledge of like, oh, how you always need to assign ChatGPT a role, then only you say like the task, and then you maybe give it an example, like put in an
Mm-hmm.
example paragraph. There's actually a lot to learn. As opposed, I mean, it's like it's as good as the prompt that you feed it. Yeah, that's what I
Exactly.
would say.
Like, so true. I think, the first step towards to stay in the game is to upskill yourself. Or I wouldn't say even upskill. I would say the first step is to stay aware. Like, be aware of the things that's happening around you.
That's right.
Like, make sure you are in the game. I mean, like, make sure you're in the wave. Only then you'll be able to, like, if you're like, aware of the things that's happening around you, sorry, only then you'll be able to actually, learn in order to upskill yourself. So it's
Mm.
the game of awareness. Like once you're aware, like you will be in the game. So that was kind of
Yeah.
good. Like I've got a basic understanding. So next, like since you're into copywriting and content writing, and I would say like on marketing on the whole, right? Like, what do you think has changed since ChatGPT, to be specific, has come into picture, and a lot of other tools that have come into picture? Like after these tools came into picture, like what do you think is the current state of marketing on the whole? You take social media marketing, like digital advertisements, media buying, SEO. I mean, like there are a lot of stuff, right? So after all these tools came into place, like what do you think is the current state of marketing on the whole?
I think um in terms of marketing, businesses are trying to be more and more personalized
Okay.
without with how do you say incorporating the kind of tools that we have now today. As in,
Mm-hmm.
believe it or not, like nowadays you can make things. When I say about like ChatGPT being earlier, when I said about being not as personalized, is, I don't know. Sometimes just in the writing style, it can mimic a certain writing style, but it may not um kind of like just really it like kind of like struck a chord and be as like, wow, that it's so emotional, or have yet to encounter something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say when it comes to like automation, I think a lot of businesses, as far as using in the aspect of marketing, they are kind of really upping their games with automating messages, making things more seamless, as opposed to like, you're putting a human manning your live chat and things like that. I think that's one aspect that businesses are kind of still, of course, communicating and like having that kind of seamless communication with customers, but it's just a more automated, a more seamless kind of thing. And I think more and more businesses are actually like jumping on board on that, having it more smoother transition and like just letting machines handle most of the things.
Exactly. So, when I was going through all this stuff, right, like how marketing is going to change in after all these tools came into picture, like as you said, everybody are going to use a lot of the seamless experience. They're going to try to incorporate as much, I would say, instant things, right? Like just like that, like people can get access
right.
or they can get answers to all the things like just like that. Those instant experience is what they are focusing on. And moreover, if you want to be like I would say, like if you really wanted to build your brand, like if you want to stay on top, I would say everybody are saying that you got to be like more personalization, because like everybody can generate content on ChatGPT. They can just given a prompt and everybody can get those content. So the real thing here is that like how will you stay in the game is that like you got to be like, more personalization. You got to give in like as much like high quality content as possible. Like if they are getting if a user is kind of getting deep down, and if they wanted to understand this deep down thing of a broad topic, like you have to get deep down into it and make sure it is like as much personalized as possible. Only then you can like kind of stay, or I would say like you can kind of stay in between from all the people who are just generating normal content from ChatGPT, right? Like you got to have that personalization, right?
Yeah, I think that's really true, because there are so many tools nowadays, like nobody, I mean, like barely anybody can keep up of like what's newest,
Exactly.
And when it comes to personalization, right, we're talking so much more in detail than just like calling you out by name, but also like really understanding the details of your life, as in like, I know where you shop, I know the kind of places that you like to go, I know your
True.
routine on a Friday night, things like that. So, and these are the things that if you ask me, will make prospects or make customers like really pay attention and like, oh, like
Exactly.
this thing is really kind of understanding my life, making my life more seamless. And I think another point that on a marketing whole, what businesses are trying to do as well is to minimize touch points as well. As in like if there
Yeah.
is a certain kind of system that there's like
Exactly.
5 steps, they're
True.
trying to simplify it. Like how can we get to the customer's ultimate desire with like lesser steps, with like, okay, let's put in a tool here, and that's gonna plug the gap of 2 steps, so we only need 3 steps now. We don't need, it's something like just really optimizing.
True.
Yeah, I think that's what they're trying to do
I mean,
as
like,
well.
obviously, not only, I wouldn't say like, not only after all these tools came into picture, like even before, I would say like when we started adapting internet, right? Like specifically internet and social media, like our brain, like we have subconsciously inherited something known as this instant gratification. Like we want everything just like that, right? So,
Yeah.
and today it has, because of all these tools, it has enhanced it even more. So now we like, we are like, it's so fast moving that we just want like everything just like that, just like that. So in that particular thing, like as you said, with the help of all these tools, we can try to minimize as much touch points as possible, so that people have the seamless experience and they can easily get the things like what they want, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, makes
absolutely.
sense.
It's
Yeah,
it's it's a matter of I think businesses, obviously, when it comes to business, obviously they have to talk about numbers, right? So as in they need to make sure that whatever that they are bringing on also kind of justifies, whatever that they're trying to do. Okay, if I bring this kind of tool on, like what exactly am I getting back? If it's not in terms of numbers, in terms of impressions, in terms of awareness, so there's
makes
that kind
sense.
of value also that they
True.
need to kind of take in
Yeah.
consideration. Yeah.
So, so the next question, what I wanted to ask you about is that about content creation. I mean, you take everybody, like most people are saying that I'm a content creator. I create a lot of content on like most platforms. So my question to you is that like, uh, which platform do most content creators are focusing right now? Because I think within, I think just 1 to 2 years back, like since TikTok took over all the other platforms, most people started using TikTok. And by the way, like in India, there's like no TikTok, they have banned it. But currently, like again, due to privacy concerns, people are saying that it's going to be banned in other countries as well. So in terms of all these uncertainties, people are slowly shifting back to Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube Shorts and things like that. So what do you think is the number one platform that current content creators are focusing on? And like, what is your preference? Like, what are you focusing on? Which platform is the number one that you also prefer?
Right. I think from my point of view, I think Instagram still has quite a strong
Mm-hmm.
um a strong presence, as in people are
Okay.
still quite gravitating towards Instagram, mainly because um easeability and like the people are there, so I always believe that businesses, they are where the people are, so
Mm-hmm.
they will only kind of penetrate a new kind of platform if they know that their potential market is there. So
Exactly.
yeah, I think Instagram, YouTube Shorts, yeah, for sure. I think Reels, even, all of these are, because nowadays short video content like does really well.
Mm-hmm.
um I would say, for me personally, like, because we got connected on LinkedIn, so
Exactly.
I'm pretty big on LinkedIn because I would say more pretty much all my efforts when it comes to personal branding, using social media and all that is pretty much on LinkedIn. Although like for Instagram, it's not so much my lead gen kind of place, but
Okay.
I do try to keep up, more or less somewhat updated kind of profile. So at least like
Like,
people, when they land on my profile, they kind of know, like, oh, she does copywriting,
like
that kind of
kind of
thing. So
getting
I
this
just want
brand
to
awareness,
make
right?
sure that people can associate. Yeah, yeah. As in, like, I don't want people to guess. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
want it to be
Mm-hmm.
pretty straightforward to them. They
True,
like they
true.
shouldn't have to guess what I'm about or what I
Mm-hmm.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. So you would say that Instagram is still that, still that people are using Instagram and like people are creating content. And for your preference, it's LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
because as you know, I believe you'd be quite familiar with this as well. As in, like, the people who are on LinkedIn and the people who are on Instagram, the type of users are also very different, and the
Yeah,
type of
makes sense.
content produced
So
are
true.
also very different. You know,
Exactly.
so I mean, because LinkedIn is heavily value based, because if ever anybody decides to hard sell on LinkedIn, it's not going to work. It's going to fall
True.
flat on their face, and it's not a good
Exactly.
effort by them, right? So,
Exactly.
and because LinkedIn, I find that the people on LinkedIn are very ready to give. They are very
Mm-hmm.
ready. And I know that you are a Gary Vee fan also, right? So, jab, jab,
Oh,
jab, right hook,
so true.
so
Exactly.
need to always be giving that value. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's what LinkedIn is all about, and I think that's what like really attracted me to the platform as well. Is like, hey, we're all people from different places, and we all have different kind of knowledge and expertise. So we kind of just put it out there, and then we hope
Mhm.
that, like, we know it's good stuff. Put it that way. We know it's good stuff, but it's
Makes
only
sense.
gonna be relevant to that kind of people. And it's a good place to network and get to know more people. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I think that's why, I kind of find LinkedIn is like my place,
Makes
out of the
sense.
other platforms.
Exactly. And I mean, that was like very great insight. I would say, if you ever like ask me like which is your go-to platform, I would say LinkedIn for me because
Mm-hmm.
actually I have started my journey right from Instagram. Like what I used to do is like before I didn't know I think at the time like where I didn't know anything about content creation, anything about personal branding, anything about branding on the whole. Like I didn't know anything about social
Mm-hmm.
media at that point of time. So I just thought that like let me start an Instagram page and just start creating content. Like I didn't know like what type of content to
Mm-hmm.
even create. Okay, like I used to just create a lot of this fact based pages and all. But I created, I would say 5 to 6 Instagram pages, but I wasn't being, but I was being like fully inconsistent. Like I didn't know anything. So I used to just quit a lot. And that is when I came
Mm-hmm.
across a platform called LinkedIn. To be frank, I never knew a platform existed called LinkedIn. Actually, again, so happy, and I would love to share my gratitude to Gary Vee again because he was the one who introduced LinkedIn to me, because I remember, I think it was just 3 or 4 years back when he started talking about LinkedIn. He says that LinkedIn is the new Facebook, that you got to be
Mhm.
more active on LinkedIn because it's giving a lot of,
That's right.
traction in that.
Mhm.
So that's when I knew there's a platform called LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and I started like kind of doubling down on LinkedIn. I would say, to put it short, to put it in a nutshell, LinkedIn is the only place where it gives me all the things that I'm having currently now. Because you see, I'm interviewing you, right? Like I was able to connect with you because I wouldn't say a very good profile, but at least I had a decent profile, and that's how I get this response from people like you. Or else, like I wouldn't be getting any response. So for me, it's always LinkedIn first, and now I'm planning to kind of uh, expand my community from LinkedIn to Instagram, be it YouTube, podcasts, and things like that. But my go-to platform is always LinkedIn. And by the way, like LinkedIn is another biggest part is that like it gives you opportunity to create all type of content. Like if you're good in written, you can go with written content. If you're good in video, you can go with video. If you're good in audio, you can create audio events. Like since it gives this
Mhm.
flexibility and
That's right.
functionality, right? Like everybody has, I would say it gives a very good, it kind of welcomes everybody who wanted to create content on LinkedIn, I would say.
Yeah. I think LinkedIn over the years, definitely they've kind of upped their game as far as
Exactly.
like the kind of
So
features
true.
that they provide. Although I would say one of the things about LinkedIn is sometimes I mean, like, but every social media has this, like the algorithm
True.
changes and then you start to
Yeah.
realize like, hey, the things that used to perform really well isn't really performing that well, you know. But it's more of,
That's
I guess it's more of like a discovery kind of thing.
true.
That's what the journey is about, right? You know,
Exactly.
and most importantly, I think we just have to have our audience in mind. You know, whatever that
True.
we create, obviously it's a representation of us, but
Mm-hmm.
it's only valuable if people are going to find it valuable, you know. So we do the things in that sense
Exactly.
for, you know, for that audience.
True.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. So that was kind of good, I would say. I mean, like first we've started with AI in terms of copywriting and generally about AI, marketing and content creation. So now I wanted to get into
Mhm.
freelancing since you are into this full time freelancing, right? So there's like lot of things that's going in
Yep.
terms of freelancing. I would say, in recent time, like I've learned a lot in terms of freelancing. Even I'm into freelancing, but I would say like I'm not very big freelancer. Like I don't have a lot of client base. I have just getting started in terms of freelancing, but I've learned a lot. So if you take LinkedIn, I don't know like whether you have
Mhm.
come across these incidents, but here in India, right, there's a lot of this so-called gurus. Like I don't know whether they are real gurus or not. They are so-called expert gurus. Okay, what are they trying to do is they are trying to sell their course. Their headlines is like literally their headlines is states like this. It says that, hey, come and join my course. Within like 1 month, will make you earn like six-figure income. So everybody have started selling all these so-called courses. They kind of state, or they make us feel that freelancing is like so easy. Everybody can do just like that, and they can earn money just like that. So I wanted to ask you like, what is actually really freelancing? I mean, like how tough it is, like how people should start embracing it. And there's like it's like very sad that most people, I would say college students,
Mhm.
they wanted to earn money, so they fall into this trap, and they kind of pay a lot of money to all this course, buying all this course which are actually not at all valuable. So like, what is your take on this? Like, I've come across this. It's a real time example that I'm saying. I have experienced this, so that's why I'm just asking you. So like, what is your take on this thing?
Okay. Um, Basically, so you mentioned a couple of things there, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
first part about how these experts and gurus are kind of like pushing their courses and saying that like, oh, you spend 499 with me, and then you know you can make your first six figures in 1 month, 2 months, and it's so often that we get these, you know, via our ads, or you can sometimes see it on their postings as well. Um, the reality is, right? I mean, I'm not saying that it's impossible, because I mean, some of them they really do have like their track record. They have like the screenshots of testimonials and things like that. And um, I'm not. I think I want to be kind of balanced here, as in
Mm-hmm.
like, part of me as a skeptic would say like, are you sure? Like really, you know, seriously. But also a part of me, kind of says that like, hey, these people are also, I mean, like, a good way to kind of go about it is, of course, to research, go and see like what
Exactly.
people have said, or like those people who have taken the course, is it really what it says it is? It might be good, but is it exactly like what they claim it is?
True.
That's a different story, Things may be good, but if you're pushing it and exaggerating it more than it really is, then it is a form of misrepresentation, and you're kind of manipulating people in some way. Some people say, oh no, it's like storytelling, so it's how you interpret it. But ultimately, like you said, people who are graduates, they just want to find some ways to kind of
Make money, quick money.
start off the ground, get some extra side money. Yeah, it's not something that that is always like feasible. But I would kind of on a related note, but I think this is quite an unpopular opinion. I would say it's about how you perceive money first. And
Exactly.
the thing is about money, right? I mean, sometimes like if we're in this like desperation state for money, we're actually letting money control us. We're saying that like, I'm a slave to money. That's why I'm just like taking any other opportunity, whether it's right for me, whether it's not right for me, I'm just going to grab it because I need the money.
True.
And whenever you're in that kind of state, it's not good energy. It's not good. You're not doing yourself any favor by being a slave to money. You're letting money control you, So it's people use money, not money use people, right? So in that sense, about that part, yeah. So I find that we just need to kind of step back a little bit and understand that while like, hey, money is tight and we're looking for more ways to get more money, but we're not gonna push ourselves to the point where we start like not being ourselves, and we just start to like, oh, this thing is definitely going to work, so I'm going to put down the money now. We need to make like smart decisions. We need to make like more calculated risk decisions, especially if we're talking about people who are not necessarily having a lot of money to start with. Like, because if you think about it, the people who are falling for these kind of things, or the people who are like tapping into these kind of things, are people who don't have a lot of money at this point in time. So if you're in a state where you don't have a lot of money, you need to be even more careful about the money that you already have.
Exactly.
So that's what I think about that. And I think about the second half. The second half was about freelancing, right? So freelancing is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, because like, it's my 4th year now, and I feel that it has given me the life. I wouldn't say like the life of my dreams, but somewhat pretty close as well. As in, because I think I'm in a place where I work. I don't work for money. As in, I work because I enjoy my work. But obviously, because I'm not going to lie and say that like, oh, money is not important. Obviously, we need money to live, right? But what I mean is that So the most important thing I feel when it comes to freelancing is that you don't look at freelancing as a way out, as a way to escape. You have to kind of, I understand that, like, let's say if people going from a full-time job, they want to go into freelancing, they have to kind of be very mentally and just their whole being kind of prepared for it, but they are not looking as a way of escapism. Because if you escape, you feel that you're running away from the rat race and you are escaping, you're kind of like you're kind of like fooling yourself a little bit. The reality is, freelancing, you have to work as well, and you have to work more in that sense, compared to the 9 to 5 where you have to clock out.
So true. I mean,
exactly.
No
So like, you have to
particular
work
time,
more,
like,
and
there's like full lot of uncertainties. Like, people think that you can be a like own boss, you can like literally do all the stuff. Like, people actually, I look at all this Instagram pictures, right? They say that people are enjoying on vacations, so they say that, okay, freelancing is easy, I can just go out there and I can like earn a lot of money. But as you said, like, freelancing, you gotta work even more.
Yeah, I think that's the part that people kind of have that misconception.
Exactly.
Because and in that sense, you can put the blame a little bit on these influencers, showing all this high flying life. And I'm not saying that with freelancing you can't achieve that, or it's not possible, or it's not good, but it's all about the person who's consuming it. They need to understand that just because it works for somebody this way doesn't mean that it's going to work for me that way. Or
Very true.
it may take me
Very
like
true.
5 years, 6
Exactly.
years, in order to get close to something like that. And I feel that freelancing will actually be an opportunity for most people to kind of discover what is the life that they really want. As in, like, maybe when people start out, they want the fancy cars, they want to travel the world and things like that. But, maybe after some years, let's say they've started in freelancing, maybe a couple years, you may realize, I just like controlling my time.
Mm-hmm.
I just like not having to set an alarm. I just like, having breakfast with my family in the morning. So I think it kind of exposes what is really important to a person. And
Exactly.
it may change over time. You may be surprised that when people start out, they think it's, I want this, but, down the line, it may be something else. And it's usually a more meaningful and purposeful kind of thing, as opposed to like the very material kind of life,
Makes sense. Like totally. And we just talked about the so-called experts. They're trying to sell their courses, right? And I would say their biggest weapon is insecurities of the candidates, not candidates.
Mhm.
To be frank, like of the students. So let's say, for example, as you say, like if there's any graduate, like a graduate student, like obviously he's in need of money. So they know that
Yeah.
if these so-called experts, if they kind of write in such a way that it directly hits those insecurities. They say that
Mm.
a lot of people in your age, they're earning like 6 figures. Like, what are you doing? People get
Mm.
this insecurities. They start this self-doubt, stating that all my friends or like
That's
all the
right.
other people are earning a lot of money. They're going on a lot of vacations. They're buying cars. They're buying
Mm-hmm.
fancy gifts. They're buying fancy clothes and things like
Yeah.
that. So they start getting this
Mm-hmm.
insecurity. They're like, when am I gonna do that? So in that particular situation, they don't make the smart move. They just make a kind of blinded decision. Like, they don't
Mm-hmm.
look at anything else. They just directly think that, okay, let me invest some money in this particular course, and boom, it's gonna make me a millionaire, or like anything for that matter. So
Mm.
in that particular
Yeah.
situation, people are like really bad. So I would say, like, of course, like, you gotta follow a lot of influencers. You gotta follow a lot of creators, because that's how you get a lot of this awareness. You can kind of learn. That's how even I have learned.
Mm-hmm.
But the only catch here is that, like, how are you consuming those content? Like, if it is kind of in hitting your insecurities, you got to know that, no, this is like something bad. You got to
Mm.
be away from it. So that is something that people have to focus on, right?
Yeah. Very, very true that they are capitalizing on the insecurity, as
Exactly.
in, because people feel that lack. So when somebody communicates to them like, hey, you can have it all, you can have it all. You just need to sign up for this. And
True.
I think, well, you could say it's not like it's copywriting's fault. I mean, like, it's meant to, copywriting is like meant to sell something, right? You're meant to target that pain point and to like speak to that psychological self. But what I mean is that it targets, like, sometimes I feel these kind of offers, right? They're not
Mhm.
necessarily targeted to the people that it's meant for. Like, they're just trying to get, like, okay, whoever, like, as long as I touch your insecurity, and then like you kind of like buy into whatever I'm saying, then you kind of join. But then some cases are so sad where people they kind of sell their car to join something, or they sell their house to join something. Those are the more extreme
Yeah,
cases.
extreme
But
cases.
that just proves, yeah, it just proves how powerful, when you tap into the emotions, when you talk about insecurity, it's
Exactly.
so powerful that, like, we need to be quite careful about, like, the things that we consume. And like you said,
Mhm.
very true as well, it's about how we take the information, how we consume the information. Like, a good example is like this, like fire, right? Fire on its own, actually, it's a neutral thing. It's good and bad, because fire, we can cook, we can keep warm, if there's fire, but fire can also burn down a house, right?
Exactly.
So it's
Exactly.
about how in which that we kind of consume the content, and how, and what plays a role in that is
Mhm.
that if we know our worth, we know our self-worth, we are not we're not like discontented, or we're just kind of like trying to find that we're just like wanting to chase after the money. So it's about our state of being, as in if we are in a mindset, we're in a headspace of like, I'm just going to find more opportunities, but it's not that I'm going to like sell myself, or I'm going to just be drawn in and kind of like led by whatever the money is dangling in front of me, So it's about empowering ourselves first, so that we are ready to kind of like, whenever these kind of content come at us, we know how to handle it, or we won't be so, sucked in. Yeah. That's what I think.
So true. Yeah. Actually, I wanted to get deep into this. That's why, like, I've been asking this because, recently, I think, before like 2 months, like, I've had another session with a guy named Vaibhav. Okay. Like, he's also a freelancer. He is a Web3 content writer. He's done a lot of work. So, after started looking at his content, like, I think, like, he was the first guy who came out on LinkedIn and he started stating that, hey, to all the freelance influencers or freelance coaches, I wanted to say that whatever you're trying to do is actually not true. I mean, it is possible to earn a lot of money on freelancing, but it is not the way that you kind of sell it to. So he started coming and he started kind of, targeting those people. He started helping a lot of students, I would say, to not fall into this trap. And he started getting a lot of hate. People started, reporting him and things like that. Like, I've had this fortunate to have him on my show. It was like very great. We had a lot of, we had a great session about freelancing. Like, we kind of broke down all the basics. We kind of, got deep down into like how to get started with freelancing. Like, usually, like, how long it take.
Yeah.
Because like, as you said, for me, it can be, for example, that for me, I can kind of, figure out just like, 6 months or like within 1 year, like I could get to the point. But for you, it can be like more than like 5 years also. Like, it's not going to be the same, right? Like, there's a lot of factors that place in terms of figuring out. So it's that of course, like, you can join courses. Like, I don't mean to say that all the courses are bad. Like, you can join courses. There are a lot of good courses. So make sure that you kind of fact check everything before you fall into the so-called numbers, right? Like, people throw in numbers because we are psychologically driven towards number. If there's some number, we tend to believe that numbers are like very true. So make sure whenever you come across this money or numbers for that matter, like, you fact check everything before you take that particular decision. So that is the thing that I wanted to share.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll definitely go and check that out, because I mean, it's good that there are people kind of calling out these people, because what they are doing is not helping society in that sense. It's very self benefiting. So I find that, like, if there's somebody who's they feel that calling, in that sense, like, hey, this is not right, and I'm going to do it the proper way. I think that's really great, because we need more people like that.
Exactly. True. So next, I wanted to again get into freelancing, but I just let's finish this freelancing with this one question, that is, like, what is your go-to strategy for getting clients? So it can be applicable. Let's say, for example, the tips that you're gonna give should be applicable for a beginner freelancer as well, and to an experienced, right? I mean, for like, obviously for experienced freelancer, like, we don't have to give any tips, I would say, because they would have already figured it out. So what is your go-to strategy for beginner freelancers if they're just starting out to get clients? Like, which platform and things like that?
Okay. So I think I will just share from my experience and what has worked well for me, right?
Okay.
So for me personally, LinkedIn is where I got most of my clients, I would say. As in, like, they will send me a DM, and then they'll tell me what their project is about, and then we'll see whether we're a good fit. And then what I always like to implement with my new clients, as in if there's somebody new reaching out to me, I would always like to implement a trial period. That means it's like, hey, let's try working together maybe on 2 write-ups. Or maybe I would say, let's try working together for 3 months. So it can be task related or it can be time related, And the purpose of this is to safeguard yourself. In the event that this is a client from hell, you would want to just finish whatever you need to finish and then leave, right? So a good time gauge, I would say, is like 3 months, because sometimes 1 month is a bit too short. 2 months, maybe you don't have enough encounters, you haven't hopped on
Exactly.
enough meetings yet, so I would say 3 months. So LinkedIn, I would say, is for me, I would say the first place. But I also understand that LinkedIn is not for everyone. Like some people they just can't. Like they feel that, like, they feel so cringe when some people talk about LinkedIn and I need to talk about what I do. So if for those people, if they feel it so strongly, then I wouldn't recommend a place like LinkedIn. Okay, but I know for a fact that there are a lot of people who get they get work through Instagram as well. Like, as in, it's all through after they have carefully curated their content marketing, basically, organic. So as in, their different posts just kind of explain what they're about, like a good, I would say maybe it's a good mix of content pillars for them. They have the content pillar that talks about what they do and what they have done for clients. Then they have content pillars about, just them showing their maybe behind the scenes of their work, or like, sometimes they may show some client testimonials. So and as we know, social media is a long game. It's not something that you post today and then you hope like a few days time people are going to offer you a job, or give you a gig,
gonna get that.
right? So exactly, as in, like, you just have to understand, you just have to trust the process that something is going to come out of it, and it's the more that you internally try to hurry it and like, oh, where is this client, where are they, like, why are they not reaching out to me yet, you are short-circuiting yourself, and you kind of just don't let things happen naturally. And there's something, I mean, you can say, it's the universe or God, but like, I feel that when you are in that space, when you're just like, oh, very desperate, things just usually don't turn out so well, right? Okay, so LinkedIn is one. And another one I would say, for me personally, is like networking events, going to meet people in person. And so this one, some people may shy away from these kind of things because obviously talking to strangers is not everybody's cup of tea.
I think,
but I would say, like, okay,
sorry for interrupting, but I would just love to add one point here. Like when you say this networking event, like some people kind of back out because currently we have this so-called hyped word, right? The so-called introverts, like, that's the hyped word around. Like everybody say this introvert, and I think that's a very big factor that plays into this. Plays into this networking event. Like if you are kind of going into that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely not that it's sometimes easier for extroverts also. It's just that if someone has a particular goal or a particular kind of like intention of like, okay, just as an example, when I started out, what I try to do is at least attend 2 networking events in a month.
Whoa.
And that is a very like safe and conservative goal. I try not to like, oh, I need to do one every week or something like that. I try to just start off small, and then if I feel more brave, then I'll kind of go and do more. And the thing is about when you're meeting people in person, it's multiple benefits. Okay, number one, you are actually increasing the courage within yourself. As in, you are like, okay, now that I'm going to this event, I'm here representing myself, I'm just gonna kind of like not target, but you kind of just like, oh, see like who potentially that you could have a conversation with.
Exactly.
Right? So you are actually becoming, you're setting a challenge for yourself and like being a bit more brave. And number two, actually, as we know, you get better with practice. Repetition helps. Every time that you kind of like talk to a new person in the room, you can kind of just repeat that line from that first person you're talking about to the fourth person you're talking about. And you start to say it with more confidence as well.
Exactly.
And the third thing is credibility. People like seeing a face. People like knowing a face to the name.
Exactly.
So if like people say Cheryl Lee, oh, but I haven't seen your face. Yeah, it matters.
I would say that, no matter like how much of a digital space we get into, like how much of this so-called 3D metaverse, like how much ever digital we get into, but still there's this one-to-one, that face-to-face interaction is like very powerful. Like people do want to get that, and that's why even today,
Yes.
in spite of having all this so-called this technology, all this online workshop and things like that, like still people,
Yeah.
why do people conduct a lot of events is because the credibility is still there. Like everybody wants to have a face-to-face, right?
That's right. That's right. And when you're in an atmosphere with people,
Mm-hmm.
because ultimately, right, whether we're on, like you said, in a digital space, we are still people connecting with people.
Exactly.
And people like that connection. People
Exactly.
like being in the presence of another human being. I can chat with you. I can look at your facial expressions, and there's just something about it. And the interesting thing about networking events that I find, people are giving out lesser business cards these days. People are just like, oh, what's your LinkedIn? And then you just kind of follow each other there, which I find is kind of cool, because business cards are like, you may lose the business cards, right? There are so many things in your house, and so I would say and I know that, like I said, networking events is not for everybody, or people feel really fearful. Like for me, I think perhaps like I'm quite not to say daring, but I like giving myself a challenge, So what I would do is I would usually go to these events alone. Although I may have friends that, could come with me, but I know if I go with a friend, I'm just going to stick with my friend, So I kind of challenge myself that if I want to go,
you're not going to do anything that's important to you
beyond
when
your
you're with your
comfort
friends.
zone.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. You won't focus so much on like, hey, who can I potentially have conversations with? You're just gonna stick with your friend. You're just gonna have, just talk about like, hey, this person, that person, but you're not really going to take any action. And to be honest, as a freelancer, one of the most important things you can do is to take action, to actually just do the damn thing, because you can just like sit and be so passive about it. Like one thing I've learned they say about fear, right? They say when it comes to fear is always a state where you're not doing anything. You're that's why they say paralyzed by fear. You're frozen by fear. You don't take any action.
You're just
But
sitting
when you
idle and
start
not doing
taking action, that's right. Exactly. And you're so kind of like trapped until when you start to take that action, and you say, and you internally tell yourself like, hey, it's not so bad, and the thing about action is that it inspires the next action, one small action at a time. So we're not made to jump from A to Z, so we just need to kind of keep a steady pace going, as we know consistency is the name of the game. It's not about just making that big steps, but consistent actions slowly. Yeah.
So that was like a really great. I mean, like people would have got a little bit of understanding. Like as you said, like LinkedIn is like very powerful, but it's not going to help everybody. At the same time, networking is like even more powerful, but it's not going to be suitable for all the people. So it's that like you've got to kind of experiment, like which is kind of helping you out, and kind of double down on that. You see, a lot of people, what they say is, few people, even, I mean, currently we know that LinkedIn still gives a lot of traction. It gives a lot of organic reach, but still, few people, it may not be good. So what do they, what other people do think is that, like, just because LinkedIn is giving a lot of organic reach, even though their target audience is not on LinkedIn, they focus more on LinkedIn because they think that it's giving you a lot of organic reach. See, of course, like you have to be, omni-channel present. Okay, like you have to have an omni-channel presence.
Yeah.
The thing is, you gotta figure out like which is kind of giving you the business, rather than staying on the place which is not giving you business. Yes, LinkedIn gives you a very good organic reach, but if it doesn't give you business, there's like no use of staying on LinkedIn. So it's that you've got to kind of do this experimentation and understand like which platform gives you business, and double down on that platform, and then slowly expand to other platforms. Is what like I would also add to your point.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. As in, yeah, I mean, just to tap on that point. So,
okay,
like, it's about getting clear who that we want to serve, or who that audience that,
exactly.
You have to first identify that audience, and then find out where are they at, Are they hanging out a lot on LinkedIn? Are they hanging a lot on Instagram? So you have to first identify that audience that you hope to serve, and then get to know, like, okay, let's say if I'm targeting mothers, let's say new mothers,
Okay.
So what kind of platform do they love, like interacting on? It may even be WhatsApp, so I mean, it's about kind of identifying that audience first, and then only you kind of like go to where they're at. Because like you said, if it's not bringing you business, it's kind of counterproductive for you to spend so much of your time creating content on that platform when it's not gonna bring the returns,
Yeah, makes sense. So, finally, one question before we, kind of wind up the session, or like before I ask you your final thoughts, I wanted to kind of end this again with AI. So I'm sure, like, I'm like pretty sure that you would have used a lot of AI tools. So which is your go-to tool or like favorite AI tool that you've used so far, and like why?
Okay. I don't know whether this is considered like I would consider not a lot, because there are so many tools out there. So okay, the ones that I've tried so far, of course, ChatGPT, Jasper AI.
Okay.
I was a beta tester for one that I'm not sure whether it took off or not. It's called Type by AI. Then there's UChat, Write Sonic, and then recently only Google Bard. So I wouldn't say like I've used a lot, but my take on things, I would say for daily use, as in like, if you're just wanting to like churn something out, and just to clarify here, right, the way that I use AI, I think most writers would agree. We use AI in a very preliminary kind of stage. If we're thinking of like brainstorming, if we're thinking of like, having some foundational points, outlines, drafts, yeah, I that's the way that I use AI for now. I kind of don't really let AI just write for me.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think I quite like Write Sonic. Write Sonic's kind of cool in the sense that you can enter your primary and secondary keywords.
Okay.
They have pretty decent like you can also choose like your call to action fields also, I think. So the way that it's kind of structured, I think, okay, probably Write Sonic and Jasper AI, I think they have, because okay, when it comes to AI, right, like unless you are very sure what prompt you want to put in, then only like, okay, you know how to go about things. But I think that those two have quite strong leading points whereby it kind of guides you, so you can choose your tone of voice also with Write Sonic. So yeah, I think those are the ones that I use so far. But I think ChatGPT on the daily, the only issue is that sometimes there's bugs and then you need to like reboot it and things like that. On the daily, I would say it's ChatGPT, but I would say I quite enjoy using Write Sonic. Yeah.
Okay. So I think it's gonna help. So all these tools which you have mentioned, it is specifically for writing, right? Not like other tasks, right? It is like more into writing, as in content, right?
Yeah, more so into writing.
Okay. Fine. Makes sense. So that was like really great. I mean, like I've had a lot of, insightful data and information about, AI. Like specifically, we've got like deep into this freelancing. That is like really great. So before we end this beautiful session, is there anything that you want to share, like final thoughts, anything to my, to my audience? And by the way, before you start, I would say that again, like I've started my podcast show specifically because I have encountered one experience. That is, you see, currently there's a lot of things that's happening around the world, and you might know. I mean, just like that, if you turn like left, right, center, there's a lot of updates that's happening around the world, and it's like very sad for me to see people around me currently in the place where I stay or like the place where I've studied. It's like very, very sad to see all those people are not at all aware of the things that's happening around the world. Like they don't even know that there's something known as freelancing. Like they don't even know there's something known as content creation. So it's like very sad. So that is why I decided, okay, let me take this step. Of course, there are a lot of content creators who are doing that, but I thought like, okay, let me take this step and kind of give awareness to all the people who are staying around me or like in and around me in and around the place where I stay, to give them as much awareness as possible. Because see, I kind of started believing this, that awareness equals opportunity. Like once you are aware of the things that's happening around you, you kind of understand what's happening. So based on that, you will start learning. Like if you're not at all aware, like you're just gonna be left behind. You're like, like completely blind. So in that particular, I would say that particular objective, I've decided to start my podcast, and successfully, I think you're my ninth guest. Like this is my ninth session that I'm recording. Like I'm so happy, and I'm gonna continue doing that for a longer time. So yeah, that's the sole intention of my show. So yeah, please go on. Like kind of final thoughts, anything which you have.
Yeah. No, I would just want to say that, I mean, that's really great that you have that kind of a mission, because the reality is you don't know what you don't know. As in, people won't know the things that they don't know until somebody or they encounter something, or somebody tells them something.
Exactly.
So putting it out there and really taking that effort, I mean, you should be very proud of yourself that, you're doing something like this.
Thank you so much.
For the community, and just for people to kind of be more aware. Okay, I would say final parting words is just okay, there's this quote, Leonardo da Vinci, he says, learning never exhausts the mind.
Very true.
So if ever you feel that like learning, like, wow, there's just a lot. I'm not saying that information overload is not real, but what I mean is real learning and being curious will take you far. Because when you have a curious mind, you are being open. You're kind of just like, oh, okay, like what's around me, let me just kind of absorb like whatever that's out there. And when we are this curious person, we become an open person. And when we're an open person, we're definitely more how do you say, we will attract things, we kind of like are opening ourselves up for different things to happen. And there are so many things in the world that actually happen by accident, in that sense, so I would say the important thing is to never stop learning.
Exactly.
Be very just kind of carefree with your, like, whatever's that's out there. So the important thing is, once you just learn something, you get to decide whether is it beneficial to me, if I want to adopt this thing, whether I want to like take it as part of my life or not. So the choice is always in our hands, but it's a matter of, some people, they are just even closed off from the start, that they don't even let any new things come in. And when you don't have any new things come in, it's like what they say, you're like a frog at the bottom of the well. You only see that part of the sky, and you're not opening, you're not getting out of the well and seeing the full picture.
Makes sense.
So
Totally.
really important to just be open and learn new things. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was like a really good one. Because I would love to emphasize on this curiosity, because see, curiosity is like very, very powerful. People, one of the things that one of the things that parents, either parents or the schools, what they're trying, they're like literally failing on a lot of things. But one most thing, what are they failing to teach us is that, like, curiosity. All these small things, right? Like all this small soft skills, they just kind of forget to teach us. Like they don't show importance. Like things like curiosity, things like gratitude, things like patience, things like conviction. Like all these soft skills are like very, very powerful. But the sad part is, like, I don't mean to say all the parents fail to teach it. Like most parents are failing to teach, or their teachers are like failing to teach all these things. Because you see, curiosity is like really very, very powerful. Like once you are curious, you are like literally very open, as you said, and we can kind of observe and learn a lot of things, which can literally make you land in a very big place which you have never imagined. So it's very important to kind of show importance to soft skills as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really true. And just to kind of add on to that fact that when I say that you don't know what you don't know, in a sense that parents or teachers, it's something they learn later on in life, probably.
Exactly.
Maybe like in your 30s or something like that, you kind of learn that, like, hey, it's really important to be this curious person and be open to new experiences and opportunities. They learn that later in life. or maybe some of those parents who didn't impart that to their child is
Mm-hmm.
because they never experience it for themselves. And
Makes
you can
sense.
only give what you have. You cannot give what you don't have, so but as long as, like, you kind of have that awareness now, for those of you tuning in, you have that awareness now, like, hey, there's more to kind of discover, more to explore, and just go about that, because whatever that you decide to do, it's really, the decision is in your hands. But to even start to be open and curious, that is something that you have to decide for yourself.
Got it.
If you're close-minded, it's just like not going to happen. You're just going to be banging on the same things, and you may get frustrated also. Yeah.
Got it. Makes sense. So that was really great. Once again, it was like a great session. I've had a lot of insights from you, and I'm like very sure it's gonna help all my community members. So once again, thank you so much for accepting the invitation and being on my show, Cheryl.